Just a boy, Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am, but right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know, there's just 277 days until Christmas 2023. Oh boy. And it's another great day. We get to talk about Star Wars with our friends. And it's so good to see many of you here with us. I saw Jedi Jen, and I saw Star Wars MCU OG. We got Mike Porter hanging out with us, Dale Erdman. We've got some great people. KG is here. Good to see you as well. Thank you all for stopping in. Nick, thank you. Good to see you too. Thanks so much for supporting the channel. All of you are great, and it's a wonderful day to get to spend some time together. There's a couple of things I want to go through. Hey, the Sabersmith, I see you there. Hello. There's several things I want to cover with you real quick. One is, as you could tell, I still don't have my computer back. It's still in Houston, Texas. So we're working off the laptop, and I don't have a monitor right here in front of me. I've got one down here so I can look down, or I could have one over here. I can look over, but I won't be making eye contact with you a lot of times because I have to look over there. So there's that. Hopefully we get that computer back next week, and we'll get back sort of the normal there. The other is, hey, we've got some things in this universe that aren't pleasant, and we get an opportunity to spend time in Star Wars, this mystical universe, right? In many ways it's fantasy, right? Fantasy, more than science fiction. It's fantasy, and it provides a place for us. We can come together, we can be nerds, and we can disagree about things. Diamond Joe, hello. And of course Nikki, I love you so much. Thanks so much for your support. There's an important video I want to draw your all's attention to before I bring in my guests today to get started. There's a very important video that I just really want to point out. Heavy spoilers. Paul Heavy Spoilers posted this today. The Mandalorian season 3. Why this cameo meant so much. You guys, mental health is something I know. If you follow me along, it's been a thing that I struggle with most of my life, and it's something that is really important to me as an issue. And I've supported Jason Presson over at Polyhedral Paradise as he does his mental health awareness streams every year. We really want to help people who are struggling, and I think Ahmed Best's story is one that we can associate with, and one that I can associate with myself. And this video that Paul posted today is absolutely wonderful. I can't encourage you enough to go watch it. Go watch it. If you're struggling with mental health issues, please reach out to us. We love you here, and we'll take care of you. We'll do everything we can for you. We've got a channel in our Discord for that. But my email is accessible. You can find it. You can get hold of me personally. I would be happy to talk to you guys. Anybody who's struggling, you should do that. You should do that. Hey, Sheep the Wise, good to see you. It's really important because all of us have different places, right? All of us have different things in our lives that bring us to who we are today. And we can struggle over something that to somebody else is nothing. And you may feel like, well, they shouldn't have gotten that way because that was that wasn't anything to get upset about. But a lot of times it can just be a really small thing that triggers the reaction, whether that's depression or you've got anxiety, you've got bipolar disorder or whatever. It can be a very very small thing that triggers that, and it could be an everyday occurrence. A friend of mine one day was just commuting to work. It was an average work day, unlike any other day. Nothing special. Nobody honked a horn. Nobody jammed them up in traffic. They were just driving. All of a sudden, the anxiety kicked in. They had to pull over. They couldn't drive to work. You don't know what those things are. And if anybody is struggling, if anything is causing you problems, let us know. And this is a great video. I think it's great. So I highly encourage you to watch it. So we've got more fun things to talk about. I take care of the serious stuff off the front, and then we'll talk about Star Wars. And we're gonna have some fun, and we're gonna talk about the last episode of The Mandalorian. More specifically, we're about halfway through the season. We are halfway now. I don't know as far as minutes wise, right? I don't know how long each of the episodes are, but we're episodes 4 in of 8. We've got 4 more to go. Let's talk about where we are and where we're headed. Let's talk about this last episode and all of that. And we got something else. The Bad Batch. The Bad Batch is getting ready to go into the finale. Some of you may not be watching. It's an animated series, and animation's not for everybody. But for those of us who are watching it, we're having a great time. For the most part, not everybody, but there you go. There you go. Mike Porter, personal prisons are the toughest. Amen. Amen. I have to say that because that's for me something that's very real. So here we go. I've got a Jedi Mike. Jedi Mike's here from over at the Tower of Nerds. Good to see you, Jedi Mike.
Hey, man.
And, my friend and Magic Maker, who I met over in Thor Skywalker's community. Hopefully, a Magic Maker will be joining us here soon. We're going to talk about this last episode of The Mandalorian and where we are at halfway through the season. We've only got 4 more episodes, Mike. Can you believe it?
I am so happy with where we are. I'm fine right in the middle, just like the Bendu.
That's great. You know, I've seen some criticisms of it. And even when I watched this last episode, like we're running after the kid, right? The kid's been captured by the dragon, dinosaur, pterodactyl beast, and go run. And then we get there and we decide we're just going to camp out overnight before we climb the mountain. I was like, and when I was watching it live, I'm like, wait, we're just going to camp out here? I mean, it feels to me like we need to be in a bigger hurry. But you know, those are things that, and I know, and you're familiar with this, Mike, because you hang out over at the tower. Sometimes you can't think about things too much.
Don't think about it too much. Yeah, I honestly, like, I'm so into that Captain Phasma story from the Disney publishing and the trials and tribulations that she had to go through as a fantasy character that I'm just like, sure, man, like their tribe is pacing out their hunt the way that they are. Mandos, Tuskens, I don't try to judge. I know I'm so judgy. I'm sorry.
Well, I know Josh uses it as a criticism a lot of times too, but there's some truth in that, right? There's truth in sometimes you can't overthink these things. Just, you know, enjoy the story for what it is, and then you can scratch your head over, well, that was weird, and then like when the bird regurgitates him and he's completely dry and
yeah.
like,
Rob and everyone on Making Star Wars yesterday was making a lot of sense. I'm just an optimist. You know, I am team half full and have been since the first day I met Mike Porter. God love the man. And people and Star Wars can change your life.
yes.
Team half full. is not something to fuck around with for me. Like that's the real deal for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. I choose to focus on the
Sorry
things
for my language. You have to
I
play
don't,
that Megan Trainor song, but you don't have your computer.
I don't
Ah!
have it. I can't. I got the Stream Deck is dead.
Yeah.
It's, it's all dark over there.
And
No,
it's the Stream Deck on your phone is not F Streamlabs.
not
Sorry.
quite the same. Not quite the same. But yeah, what's the comment here? The maybe the species of bird's different, and that's why the kid was still alive. There's any number of things that can explain it if you want to let it, right? And I found my way with Star Wars that way, and I've had to because as we were kind of talking just a little bit before the stream went live, we're OG guys. Like we were there in '77. We've been around the block a couple of times, and during the prequels, some of that stuff was hard for me to take, and I've had to come to terms with it. Some of it I still don't like, and sometimes you have to do a little gymnastics, mental gymnastics, or just close the door and don't think about it too much. Right?
For sure. And I because things come into your head for a reason on the universe's timing. Honestly, the Jar Jar triggering that Nikki and people are talking about at the time, the media messed with him because the media can do that. And then when they were doing it to Kelly Marie Tran, like I really felt for her. Like, and people did not see the parallel and they
Well,
got upset in a different way. And I didn't understand it. And I still don't, maybe. Like,
well, I'll say that I think media stars,
but we're
Hollywood
going to
stars.
talk about Mando. I know.
Yeah, we are. But this is why I mentioned like you don't know what triggers somebody else, and
Yeah.
you may feel like that's not a triggering event. Like the internet's going to internet, right? And why should you get upset at the internet for doing or Twitter's going to Twitter, right? Twitter is a cesspool. Twitter's terrible. It's absolutely a terrible place to hang out. Why would you get upset at something on Twitter when you know what it is? Well, the truth of the matter is you don't understand where a person is in something on Twitter that seems like, well, it's just Twitter doing Twitter might be the thing that breaks somebody someday and pushes them to the ledge and has them in a really bad place, right? But it's just so when it comes to Ahmed Best and what he went through with the media back with the prequels or anything, right? It could have been anything. It doesn't negate what he actually went through, and that's why it's important that we have a community. It's so important that we have people that we trust in our lives. It's important that we have an outlet where we can go and kind of get away from things, right? And fortunately, Ahmed Best survived that time, and hopefully, we as a community have learned to be better humans. But I doubt it. I kind of doubt it.
It's just cool sometimes when, an actor like Robert Downey Jr. comes back and Iron Man, the fantasy comes back at the same time and you're kind of rooting for the person and you're rooting for the character. Like that stuff happens sometimes.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's fun to root for him coming back because I loved his Jedi in the Jedi Temple Challenge and
Yes.
the theories that we're going to talk about saving Grogu. Like it's just awesome. And I want to speak to anybody that like didn't like the episode. I understand. Like I can completely see why it could be one of the Book of Boba Fett episodes that I did not like. But for me, my lens, I'm telling you, this was like it was written like a clunky Clone Wars episode, but I kind of like it. I like the clunky animated Clone Wars episode. Like it was kind of worked for me.
Yeah, I watched it again with my wife last night.
It was a 9. Again.
To me, that episode was all the things.
I live blogged you. My wife last night said, "Wow, these action sequences are incredible. They've been incredible this season."
My wife said when we finished it, she goes, I didn't like that very much. What? I said, I turned to her and it's like, what? Wait, what's wrong with you? Like something's wrong. You're just being a turd.
It could have
That's what
been
I
the
told him.
Taco Bell, right?
But
Like,
look, and that's the thing. As it is with anything like this, it's subjective, right? It's everything's subjective. The way you receive it. And I know Nikki mentioned. So yesterday, Nikki was messaging with me. Nikki and I have a very close relationship outside of social media, right? because we just can't, right? We just can't. I mean, you get into the social media stuff, it starts to get crazy. But she's tremendously supportive, and a lot of times when I just need to vent and I need to just be me, I could go to Nikki and I could just be me, and I can just and she'll hear me. And so she does the same to me. She's like, Brian, I just need to vent. Boom. And so we were having fun yesterday. She was telling me how dumb she thought it was, and she said contrived here, and that's okay if that's where you are with it. Then you shouldn't be feel bad for the way you feel about it. It's just the way it is. So anyhow, we're halfway through the season, right? We're
yeah.
halfway through the season. One of the questions on the season is, where are we going? What is this season about? Like a Mandalorian season 1, I've seen this put encapsulated really well. Season 1 was about saving Grogu from the folks who are chasing after him, right? All these different bounty hunters, right? Season 2 is about returning back to his people. What's season 3? If you were trying to encapsulate it, what would you say season 3 is? And chat, tell us what you think.
I mean, season 3, you're in the village. Season 2 is the trek to the village. Season 1, you're on your own type of thing. I mean, I guess. Again, I was right next to her last night. So like the normie said, oh, we're really seeing the Mandalorians now. Like the name of the whole thing makes sense, right? You're seeing where he comes from. People in 20 years, like, I think will be happy that you finally get to this part of the Mandalorians and who they are. And then we get to learn more and explore more, maybe.
Yeah. To me, it is definitely about the rise of the Mandalorians, if you want to kind of put it that way. Not only is Grogu kind of starting his journey as a foundling, like he made this choice, right? He made the choice. I want to be I want to be with Dad. I don't want to be a Jedi. Given the binary option, right? He's still obviously using the Force and he's meditating and he's doing that, but he doesn't want to be apart from his dad. If Dad's going to be a Mandalorian, fine, we'll do that. So Grogu's on that path. Din was on the path to redemption. He's been redeemed. What's Din's journey from here? What's he about?
Well, I don't think it's to fall in love with the girl on the island of, like the BDH episode, with the village. Like, I don't think, like, honestly, you kind of wanted that at the beginning because I'm a romantic, tragic person, but it was just to tease us. I don't think that's what he's meant to do. And yeah, I don't know. I can't wait to hear people speculate about it. I honestly am fine not knowing. I think that's part of the fun, like not knowing where Din's going. Grogu probably has more of a purpose as someone that has so much Force energy and conflict and stuff within him as a Force user. But I don't know.
Yeah.
You never know how a normie in the fantasy world of Star Wars isn't connected to the Force, but then they're part of the plan. They're part of the path. He might be some kind of amazing hero that we don't understand for the whole people of Mandalore. Definitely some of the stuff that I sent you about getting into the Mandos being spread out across the galaxy, kind of the way some people were forced to leave their area during genocidal periods and things like that. Those parallels, maybe there's something there that he's going to be more of a redemptive figure that I don't see yet.
Yeah, and just to be specific with what we're talking about here, and I shared this out on Discord as well. Discord's a great place to kind of just share information there's a great video by Screen Crush, and Screen Crush did a great job kind of showing these parallels between the Exodus of the Jews, Mosaic kind of era that they went through, and maybe where they even are today. Different kind of sects within the with Judaism. It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch. He did a really good job of outlining that without kind of getting too deep in the weeds.
Yeah. It was just one part of an amazing video. Like it.
Yeah,
The dude knocked it out of the park this week.
he did. He did. There's some good stuff out there. But yeah, evolve the Mando culture. What I see this season happening is just the rise of Mandalore. As I said before, so be it Grogu going through his journey to become a Mandalorian with his dad, Din figuring out his role in the entire covert, Bo-Katan. If anything, and I've seen this in the chat, I think Bo-Katan's journey is a bigger focus this season than Din or Grogu. Seeing her come up into her role within Mandalorians. All right, the Mandalorians have been split, going back for some time, and maybe it started with her sister. Maybe when we saw Satine not wearing the armor, right? She wore flowing dresses. She was into peace and neutrality involved in the war. She wanted to keep Mandalore separate from everything that was going on in the Empire, and Satine just didn't want anything to do with it. And then we had the Watch, right? Who were
Death Watch.
Death Watch, who were like, "Nah, this isn't us, fam. Right? We're a warring culture. We're battle hardened. We're strong, and we will take it to you if you mess with us." Right? And we had this division, and you still see some of that kind of rippled down through time. And while Bo didn't embrace Satine's ideology, right? She was part of Death Watch at one point, but they didn't. They still don't stay with the whole "I must wear my helmet all the time." But she is part of that. We're tough, right? We're trained. We're battle hardened. And how do you bring that culture back together? It is divided, right? It is split. You've got the Watch now, right? The children of the Watch, presumably descendants of Death Watch, or at least a faction of Death Watch that have continued. And
Yeah, it's interesting. You wonder what the oral history of that is. Like, what the heck does the armorer know? Like, give us a little oral history tea. But that's what this season is. Like, look, the real Star Wars, guys, for me, is the people in the 501st that are going to hospitals and are helping kids. Like, for me, my life is about like how the city of Pasadena and the Rose Parade is the biggest volunteer organization in the whole world that like sends out hope through television because of a parade with flowers. Like,
yeah,
so the Mando Mercs are an important part of the Star Wars community, and they do so much, and they must be so excited about the exploration of the universe, because the Mandalorian is like the word Star Wars to me. It doesn't have to be one Mandalorian. It's the way of the Mandalorian. It can be your way, can be many different ways. The Force goes in all directions for different people. So
yeah. I think seeing these cultures brought together is one people. And both and Din Djarin asked the question earlier in the season when Bo was like, "This wearing the helmet thing. This isn't a thing." He says, "Then what's it mean to be a Mandalorian? Like, if you're not if you don't take the creed, if it's not about the creed, and the creed involves wearing this helmet, then what is being Mandalorian? Like, is it a way? Right? This is the way. Is it a way? Is it a multitude of ways? What's the thing that defines a people group? Uh, and that's a great question when you start to say, well, what makes somebody American, or what makes somebody Canadian, or what makes somebody uh, uh, Ukrainian? What's the designation? What's the identity? And when you
Yeah.
get into the Mandalorians, what is it? Especially if you didn't come from nobility, right? Or you didn't come by birth in, right? You were born outside of that thing, and then you are adopted into it. What makes you different?
Right. And here's the thing I'll give people about the episode, because we are canon lovers, right? And we're entitled to certain canon things. And I suspect that we're not, like, Bo could be telling us more about why the hell I don't know, maybe she switches and she's like, sure, I'll just become part of your sect, like, too quickly. Like, if you've been following Bo Katan during Clone Wars and stuff, you know so much about her. Maybe the limited amount of information that you're getting from her character in this fantasy setting doesn't work in terms of, like, suspension of disbelief and stuff, you know? Like, it was a hard episode because she just goes too quickly from this to that. Like,
Well,
maybe I
I don't
see
know.
that.
First,
Maybe I see that.
Saber Smith, please. Yes, feel free to share with your students. You don't need my permission, but yes, that'd be
I'm
great.
real wherever I'm at. Unfortunately for
That'd be
people,
great.
like,
Listen,
if I'm here or if I'm in person, I'm the same. You can share this. I don't care.
you asked a pretty good question, or brought up a pretty good point. Where is Bo Katan right now? Mentally, emotionally?
Yeah, where's her headspace? I don't know, man.
Yeah.
When she was at the campfire, she looked satiated. Like, she looked, she was leading a hunt. She was doing some Mando stuff that probably felt good for her. Maybe that's why she was so quick to say, okay, sect, whatever. Maybe she's just dope at coalition building. Like, honestly, I don't know. Doesn't really matter, I
To
guess.
me, it seems like she's at a bit of a crisis moment in her life.
Oh, the
Right?
daddy thing. Again,
Well,
Rob
more than
mentioned this a
that,
couple
no.
times yesterday. Like, that's
I
another
don't
part of
think.
the episode that I will give people. Maybe it was forced because at some point on the whiteboard, as they're figuring out all this Mandalorian mythology and backfilling some of these interesting plot things, you know, maybe they just, I don't know. Anyway, it's just too much. Who knows?
I don't know about that. What I mean is, she was born in nobility.
Yeah.
And she was always assumed that she was going to move into nobility. And when she did, things fell apart. After that, then she was pulling together a group, right? The Night Owls, and she had a little bit of a posse that she took with her. And when we see her this season, they've left her even. She
She
has
complained
nothing.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, she has nobody. And she's rejoined with the covert. Now the covert was down to like two people, right? And the covert is growing. Her group fell apart. And maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe they've got something going on here. What?
There
And
you
so
go.
I think,
That's a great gravitational pull that I can see her going towards. That makes a lot of sense in terms of her character. I guess, again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate. It's the way that she can grab that dark saber and be back into her mode, but then also, like, she doesn't have people on her team, but then she's willing to join. Like, I don't know, whatever.
yeah.
It's
So
interesting.
I think she's introspective. Did she see the mythosaur? Did she not see? She thinks she saw the mythosaur.
I think
Uh,
that's great. I love at the very end, spoilers, right? At the very end of the episode, the armorer's like, nope, you saw it. I get you. Like, I don't think the armorer is being cynical. I think the armorer is playing it right down the middle. Not that she knows that she did see it. I think the armorer is one of those people like, I don't need to know what your faith is, Bo. You do you. Like, that's why I don't know. I like that part of Star Wars.
I do too. I do too. And so I see
I
both.
like that Zeb's people have their version of the Force, and that the Chiss have their, like, I love that stuff, man.
Oh yeah, well, we're gonna get more of that in
Yeah.
Ahsoka for sure. But so we're halfway through. Bo is
Yes.
at a turning point, and now she's gaining some street cred with the covert. Right? She's shown that she is Mandalorian. think what you will of her from before. She has been trained with that dark saber. She knows how to use it. She's proficient with it. You can clearly see that when Din wields it, he is not. He is a better pilot than her, but she's a better with the dark saber than him. So it makes an interesting pairing, especially when you see how she interact with Grogu versus him interacting with Grogu. They do have parental type roles, and so one thing Star Wars hasn't had for a long time, at least in the Disney era, on live action. So take movies and the shows is romance. We had romance in Rebels, for sure. We had romance in the Clone Wars animated series. We got to see Anakin and Padme grow and all of that. And we've not seen that in live action. We didn't get it in the sequel movies, and we've not seen it in any of the live action shows. Kenobi, no, right? Satine was his love, and she's dead. In a Book of Boba Fett, some people were thinking Finnick and Boba Fett were going to be a couple. That's not the case, right? And here you've got another chance. Could Bo and Din take up parental roles, join Mandalore under their united leadership, and have like a king and queen, not just a singular ruler, a monarch, right? The Mon being single, Mono single one. Could that be a case where they rule together? And he has the dark saber. She's going to ride the mythosaur, right? And you're going to have this couple lead, and then Grogu be their child.
Santa, what if the Rancor shows up? Like, that would be awesome if Boba shows up riding the Rancor. She's riding the Mythosaur. I mean, I just didn't see that possibility until you just, illuminated that theory. I don't get the romance yet. If that's where they're headed, I don't get it. I don't see any dialogue between the two of them that leads me to that. Maybe, like you said, it's a coalition building, and they're just going to be like, tribe up, And right. Then, spoilers warning, Grogu's going to have the suit of whatever, and I don't know. It's weird. It's weird when we're in the culture, right, where we're hearing the tea drip, and then I also forget about it on purpose. Right, so because Jason kind of knew what was going to happen, and we thought it was going to be at the end, and then that part was in the second episode, and I get confused.
Right. And so I asked Jason yesterday. One of the leaks that Jason Ward had of making Star Wars was that Bo-Katan was going to get new Mythosaur armor. Was unsure if it was going to be Beskar, just a remake, or if it was going to be made of Mythosaur hide, and it was going to be fashioned into Mythosaur armor, or perhaps it was what we just saw.
The pauldron.
She gets the pauldron with the Mythosaur on it. Maybe that's it, right? And we don't know.
He was saying he thinks there's something else coming, but that was.
But he doesn't have for sure. And
as soon as Bespin or he double confirms that, I'm sure they'll drop it. Like they're real journalists. They're not fucking around.
Hey, we've got my friend a magic maker. He's made it. Hello.
Hooray. Yeah. Hello. Hey, sorry. Work got kind of hectic.
I could even hear you. That's good too.
Woo, that's a good too.
Yeah. So we're halfway to this into the season. We've got half of the season still left. There's a lot to get accomplished. They've set up a few things, right? So they've set up the Mythosaur. They've set up the New Republic and the Empire remnants that are within it. They've kind of set up that maybe Moff Gideon is out there on the loose. Where are we go? How are they pulling this together? Where are we going?
That's a good I I would say, look at my record right now. My predictions are way off. No, actually, that's because I always answered one thing. Yes, no,
Yeah, I know.
no.
Yeah, I know. You've been just answering straight across.
That's been a test. Though. I just wanted to see how far off I was by just answering one thing.
Right. Had you picked all yeses instead of all nos or whatever,
Right.
Like at the top of the list instead of the bottom. But,
that's right.
So how are we going to pull these storylines together? We spent a major part of the episode before this with the New Republic and the remnants of the Empire and how all of that's working together. Why did we spend that much time there? Where's it headed?
No. I think we're obviously being set up for the piece that has to do with the cloning and having to eliminate, the Doctor from being able to reveal the information that he knew, and so I mean that's the main reason why we sat through that whole piece, and otherwise we wouldn't. And it also kind of gave us some insight onto that maybe the Republic ain't as pure and golden as we might think, because they're doing questionable practices, and that some people might consider questionable. Just put it that way, and so we're obviously getting this insight into that you may have ideals. It requires some bending of things, and that even we're set up. Dr. Pershing as, even though he was assuming his story was right about his mother, then that what brought him in there was pure ideals that turned into something that was used for darker reasons.
I have to ask you, Magic Maker, are you like hanging out with the hogs or something? There's a sound in the background. It sounds like a pig snuffling, or like they said in the chat, a demon like trying to get its way into the conversation.
No, maybe it's maybe the demons inside my head trying to get out.
I can hear it. It's irregular, but it's this.
It's like an electronic buzzing, but it's got a funny sound. That's all. But your voice is solid. It's not underwater.
No, yeah, your voice is fine. It's just that thing keeps, like, you can hear it like roar.
I don't know.
As you talk.
Just don't get iPods Pro. I mean, they're whatever they call them, the Pro version. Yeah. The other ones did much better.
So, Mike, where do you think we're headed with the rest of the season? How are they pulling these pieces together?
Okay, well, first thing I want to say, you got me, right? Yeah. First thing I want to say is that because you mentioned the time thing, I think even though we have 4 episodes left, we might get 5 episodes worth of content. So that's good to think, right? That the final episode might be like 2 episodes worth. So maybe in the final episode, we wrap up the Moff Gideon stuff in a way that also goes to that middle ground between the New Republic and people making bad choices, and that goes to the cloning thing, and they wrap all that up at the same time. They wrap up the war factions and the mythosaur stuff. I can see.
Yeah, there's
a lot of
pieces, moving pieces, right? We've got so from the trailers, we know there's a bit coming up here with pirates again on Navarro. Something's happening there. We're going back to Navarro to fight with pirates again. Something's going on with Gideon and that. We've got the whole thing going on with the Mandalorians coming together as one covert, rebuilding Mandalore, reclaiming Mandalore, going back to Mandalore, perhaps, which, given the choice over the planet where the monsters will eat you, or the planet that is like glass, which planet do you choose to live on? Right? It's kind of rough choice.
Yeah.
So
I think that we've got
But the monsters make you tougher.
They do make you tougher.
They kill you.
Yeah. What's the word? They
and also
they reap the weak, for sure.
Also with the timing in terms of plot and stretching things out, Making Star Wars Show has also mentioned that this could be like, a season 3, season 4 story. So we might get to the end of this season and we might not know what happens with all the tribes coming together till next season for some reason. Again, I think the Mandalorian culture has so much potential to explore that they can take a slower time frame than we understand and do it justice, because again, just like in the Clone Wars show, like the 501st, the real fans that are within the Star Wars fandom, like they like what they like. Disney and Lucasfilm want to do things for things that people like. I mean, the reason we keep getting different types of droids, whether they work or not, is because at least they're being creative and they're trying new things. People don't like when they don't try new things.
Well,
sometimes
I think you have to bring this. You have to conclude the season at a stopping point. Right? It has to feel like I'm not waiting for next episode next week, and I've got to wait a year to see the next episode to know where the story is going. There's got to be some sort of like, okay, a cliffhanger.
They'll create a conclusion, but there will be a cliffhanger. I think this is a more complex setup, but it's still in the same vein of what we saw the first 2 seasons. I think we're seeing another 2-season arc.
I think that maybe we're going to see Moff Gideon at the end like we did at season 1, right? He's just going to have that type of ending. I mean, not that it's, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
right. I think it'll be a little more because they're going to have to raise up the bar. So it's in the same vein where he says, well, those aren't just remnants. Where do those come from? So we know there's this bigger force out there, right? Because when all those TIE interceptors attack. So we now know it's something greater than what Moff Gideon, purported to basically have, right? And so we're seeing that we're getting the hints of a larger force out there. So will we get Moff Gideon? Yes. Will we understand there's something larger than Moff Gideon at the end? Yes. I think that we'll be like, oh, who's in the shadows? Is that Snoke? Is that Thrawn? Who is that? But we won't see. It'll just be left in the dark,
I would say at least the thing that that he was in last season, that what's that ship that he was on? I know what it is. It's the small version of what sort of looks like a destroyer, but it's not. Right? The somebody will give me the name of that, but that's not the extent of his fleet for sure.
No.
Right? He's got to have a destroyer to have that kind of fleet. And if you go back to like the Aftermath novels, because that sort of happens right after Return of the Jedi, the Moffs are each kind of building their own territory, right? So it becomes this like then in their own fiefdoms, and they're kind of fighting with each other to gain leverage over each other, and maybe envelop another Moff's fleet as part of your fleet to grow. So Moff Gideon's perhaps over Mandalore and this part of the universe, and he's going to come in with a lot more strength than we know he has. Or he's got other Moffs that he's merged with, right? To your point, a Magic Maker, right? He's merged with other Moffs, and they are a more dominant fleet.
Right. I mean, just perceive it this way. I mean, the regional governors, basically, governor handled the system or two. A Moff handled the governors and the military aspects of those governors, and then the Grand Moff was over those Moffs. So Grand Moff Tarkin had his own special projects, but there were other Grand Moffs other than Tarkin.
Right. So, I think if we look forward to the next 4 episodes, and it seems way too short, right? This season just seems way too short. We've got to see the Mandalorians, the covert, go back to Navarro. At some point, they're going to learn that Moff Gideon's out there. Moff Gideon's going to learn that they're out there, one or the other. And maybe we end the season where We've gone back to Mandalore. Bo-Katan's ridden the Mythosaur, and the Mandalorians are like cheering, united, yay, we're a people, and zip into the atmosphere. Boom, some Star Destroyers. Holy crap! Cliffhanger. I don't know. Maybe we start.
I don't know, but I love the infrastructure that we're getting in Star Wars because, like, seriously, whether it's the High Republic or it's this stuff, they're just building more things about, like, is Navarro going to help the rebels? Are they not? Is he nefarious? Is he not? What are the pathways that are happening in Chiss space? What are the other, like, what is Batu going to be? Like, I think this makes Batu more open for pirates and trading and cool stories and stuff where they limited themselves. I think they got themselves out of their Batu problem by opening up. Like, they're literally building infrastructure all over Star Wars. And I think that's dope.
Yeah, I think that things will tie together. And Diamond Joe celebrates his 12 months of membership. Thank you so much, Diamond Joe. Your support is tremendous. Thank you so much for that. It means everything. It says, evil Dr. Hemlock, which, by the way, we haven't got to talk about this together. How about naming a bad guy Dr. Hemlock, first of all?
We talked about it, didn't we? When we first heard it? I thought it was awesome.
I actually thought it was really cool. I started laughing when I really first heard his name. I don't remember hearing his name before. By the way, the cruiser for Moff Gideon is the Arcatan's command cruiser.
Okay.
It's a light cruiser.
A light cruiser.
Real light
That's
cruiser.
it. That's it. Thanks. Yeah. I like way to telegraph a bad guy, Dr. Hemlock, right? Darth.
Yeah, I was like, it's so, but the Hemlock is such a perfect name because not only does it recall, I mean, not only is like a poisonous, substance, but it's a poisonous tree and herb, but it also it sounds almost like Himmler.
Oh,
so,
yeah, Nazi overtones.
Yeah, that's right.
You got Vader, Sidious. What else did we have? We had Darth. There's so many. I'm trying to just think. Like, the names are all so evil. All right, there's no question. And so it fits absolutely perfect with being a bad guy, Dr. Hemlock. But Dr. Hemlock in Bad Batch, from Bad Batch, being in Mando, could we see that? Well, so Mike brought up before the cloning thing. Like, we've had the episode with our doctor. What's his name? Just lost it.
Dr. Pershing.
Dr. Pershing. Yeah, we had the video, the episode with Dr. Pershing. Obviously, the cloning is part of it. He was talking about cloning in his presentation to the audience, and then he wanted to continue his cloning experiments, his project. So Dr. Pershing definitely involved. Dr. Hemlock definitely involved with cloning. Different time eras. Let's bring that together. So we should talk about that. The Bad Batch happens before the original trilogy.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian happens after the original trilogy. So there's a time gap. These aren't in parallel.
We're looking at about 25 years difference.
Yeah. So there's a big gap there. Could Hemlock still be around? Is it possible? This question. Is it possible? It's possible. I'd say very unlikely. Highly unlikely.
Bo-Katan's still around.
Yeah, and so is my girl.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, Ahsoka's around, and there's a lot of boy, my brain. I'm like having a seizure. Boba Fett's around, right?
Yeah.
Boba Fett's been through all of that, and Ian's been through all of that. So we've got a lot of folks that are there. But Cad Bane, absolutely, and Sabine, Hondo. Oh, we need Hondo in Bad Batch in a bad way. But is it possible? Yeah, I just don't think it's very likely. I think
No, Hondo's going to be in the Skeleton Crew. If he gets this cameo, Hondo's going to have a cameo in the Skeleton Crew trailer at Star Wars Celebration London. I just predicted it. Call me on it if I get it wrong.
well, and to the point, Dale says Rey hasn't been born yet. And at this time in the Mandalorian, even Kylo Ren or Ben Solo is a young kid. So yeah, Mon Mothma has been around. So there's a lot of people that are around. I don't know that Hemlock's days on this in this story are going to be that long. I think he may die before A New Hope. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see the girl that we saw with the what's her name, the assistant to Hemlock, with the red glasses. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her next inside of, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see her inside of the Mandalorian.
All right, but is she a neutral cloner? Because like Pershing doesn't seem like a neutral cloner. Like maybe they're trying to make him out to being like, I'm conflicted. I'm like Galen Erso building the Death Star type of thing. I don't understand. I don't really care where they go with it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I think what you got to understand about the scientists is that there are those that will go along with maybe questionable things to get their science done, and there's some that are just downright unethical and don't care. Some will go along with the things being unethical just to pursue their science. But I mean, if they were allowed to pursue the science in an ethical way, they would do it that way too. It's just whatever's presented to them they'll do, and so their science is their morality, not what we perceive as morality. And I think that's the character of Pershing. That's the character that we see with. It's not neutrality. It's just that they're on the side of science. So their scientific pursuit, wherever that might take them.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to go back, but I'm just saying, like, I wonder how much are we investing in Pershing? Are they advancing him forward like Deidre? Like, do I care about whether you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, or is this just they're setting up certain other elements? Like, it's super interesting. Again, like
I don't think we'll see Pershing again.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure Pershing has a mind anymore. It's been flayed. The mind flayer.
If we see him, it'll be as a vegetable.
Right, he'll just be sitting in a wheelchair somewhere in the corner, rocking. Yeah. Like I don't know that there's anything left of him.
I mean, I guess the purpose, like, why were they were they showing us him because they wanted us to have empathy for him being in the middle or not? Like, that's all I'm saying.
No. It was the whole thing was to show how the ethics of this whole thing is gray on both sides, and that the sole purpose of our communications officer was sent there to eliminate him as a threat and to let the information go. So she will back out of her position and move off and go back to the forces that where she sides. So
yeah, I think we're really setting up that officer who mind flayed him, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head either.
No, I can't either. I know she's a communications officer for her Moff Gideon.
Yeah. Just see how evil she is, right?
Well, I wonder. She's good at playing. She's like it. It could be, but then she could be one of those people that also like. Are we supposed to care about her being in and out, or is
I think
she's just straight up Empire?
I think she's straight up evil.
Yeah, she fully believes what she's doing is the right thing.
Right, but believing you're doing the right thing doesn't mean you're actually the evil side. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's weird that we're opening up these choices and then it's confusing at the same time.
Elia Kane or
Dale's, is that better? Can y'all hear me?
Dale's correction put liar Kane. Elia Kane, liar Kane. That's I can see why your correction autocorrect changed it, but Elia Kane, I think we just see where she's putting on the mask of being with the New Republic while totally not being with the New Republic, and that we have the parallels to post-Nazi Germany are definitely on display there. They wanted to get into the same things that were going on during that time. And your loyalty were you a loyal Nazi, or were you just going along? Can you be reformed or not? Can you be worked back into society or not? And how many of those people were able to get past the doctors or psychologists or whatever to work their way back into society while still not being reformed, right? So there's a lot of things about that, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
interesting.
But so I think we're going to see that the New Republic is not, and the Magic Maker said this earlier, New Republic isn't he's probably dropping to come back. It's not all things pure and golden, right? They've got a mess to clean up. And if you, I mentioned the Aftermath books before, if you read those and you read the time period, Leia, Princess of Alderaan, and that whole time period, you see that Mon Mothma is trying to demilitarize at a time where threats are gaining, and it really sets them up for the First Order to come in the way they do. And we know that that's what they're working towards, even if we don't directly intersect the Mandalorian to the sequels. They're going to run up parallel to them, and the First Order is going to be a presence. So that's going to happen.
I mean, Mon Mothma had a really great idea, but maybe she had to change her ways when she had to sacrifice her daughter to get the cash. She had like, nope, I'm going to have to pull back a little bit, and then that's going to affect the rebellion or whatever.
Yeah.
May I mention these points? Because we're out of chronological order a little, and we're getting into Bad Batch a little. We talked about the parallels with the Holocaust stuff. I want to talk about the anime sand angle, right? That was really interesting part of that Screen Crush video, was that we were getting an anime trope about sand and things, and people in this chat know much, much more about that than I do.
Yeah.
And then the Grogu escape theories, there's a couple different things that I wanted to mention about that. One of the things is about Jar Jar and the ship, because we were talking about him at best, and then also one little exciting Grogu escape theory. And then also there was another thing I wanted to talk about with the sequence, one of the sequences in the show. Anyway.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead with the sequence.
Okay, so I talked to you about it in the green room beforehand. I loved the very beginning, and I actually loved the whole thing of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? Mike Porter, MCU rules. Star Wars forever. No filler in Star Wars. I love the sequence at the beginning of Falcon and Winter Soldier when they were like flying through the Grand Canyon, and it was super dope. And people were like, whoa, Marvel got a little movie momentum at the beginning of their show. That's super cool. Well, the sequence with flying after the dragon and the jetpacks and stuff, going after the boy, that part, the second part of that sequence in the flying was just, it reminded me of that. And I thought it was super awesome. And if you are in that mindset on accident or not, then you like this Mando episode better. Or maybe you go back and now you like Winter Soldier better, or you complain about it less. Who knows? I just really love that part. And I wonder what Magic Maker thought of the action sequences and those parts of the show this week.
Let's see.
Okay, I just came in late, so I missed the discussion.
Has your demon been exercised?
I don't know. Has it?
No,
is it better?
It's still there. It's still, it's still there. You're still out hunting truffles.
Don't worry about that, because again, we can hear your voice clearly. I was setting up some of the things kind of in chronological order.
Well, I don't want to dig too deep into the analysis of the episode. I'm going to talk more about where we're headed with the series. Because
all I'll say is about the episode is that the part of the climbing the mountain up to the beast was. It reminded me of my own story with my daughter, Vega, because she climbs the mountain, and their character climbs the mountain up to monsters that are very similar. Just saying.
Very good.
I wrote that we wrote that 4 years ago at this point, 5 years ago. Somebody's stealing our stuff.
It's not the first time that you've kind of been on the same page. Put it that way.
Yeah, it's happened a lot actually. And we wrote the original series. What we called it was the Mandalorian back in when we wrote that piece. What in 16, 17 there with that one, and then going into 18 with after that, I was like, no.
But I do want to talk about so where we're headed with the bad with I want to get to the Bad Batch. The big finale is coming up next week. We get a double episode finale, so I want to talk about that before we run out of time. But I am running out of time. The Mandalorian, I think where we're headed with the season. At the very end of the season, I see it more as a cliffhanger than a resolution. I think a Magic Maker, you're saying the same.
Yes.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think? A cliffhanger or resolution? Where are we going to be at the end of the season?
Well, I think cliffhanger, but again, I think Moff Gideon coming in at the end strong, like paralleling the end of season 1.
Yeah, I think you're on point. Paralleling the end of season 1, where we see him come in the tie, and
people would be familiar with that, right? Like normies
would
be ready for that.
Yeah, it ends with him stepping out of the tie with the dark saber. And you're like, oh, this guy's somebody, right? So, yeah, I think you could very well end up in that kind of.
I mean, they're not going to play like, guess who's back again? It's like he's not going to show up dancing.
Yeah, well, otherwise we've got a lot to get done in 4 episodes. If we're going to have a complete battle between the Mandalorians and Moff Gideon's fleet, and have the episode where Bo comes to terms with the mythosaur, and we bring together all these different tribes of Mandalore together, reunite Mandalore, and we tie back to the cloning stuff with Pershing and what's going on Coruscant. That's just a lot of stuff to pull together in 4 episodes. And don't forget, we've got the whole deal with the pirates. And as brought up, we haven't seen Carson Teva yet, right?
Or Ahsoka.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I mean, I think they'll bring in the skeleton crew thing again. They'll bring in the Ahsoka thing again. And why not bring in a little acolyte, thing? Why not?
Maybe Acolyte's set so far before this. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I'll make my prediction right now. So here's the prediction of where it goes. Of course, we have the Mandalorians grow closer, which we're seeing right now. That's going to continue to go. That's going to expand. So they're going to get bigger. We're going to see our little Grogu get exposed again. They're going to find out where he's at. He's going to be the target of Moff Gideon. I think the end ends really dark. So, and so I think that we're going to be left off not only as a cliffhanger, but a dark cliffhanger. So I won't be surprised if Grogu gets captured again, and that's where it ends.
Wow.
And so we're left with this. Here's the other thing: is that and Vega's calling this, not necessarily me. She is totally shipping Din and Bo-Katan right now. So I think she might be onto something, and she senses it. And I'm going to trust the 13-year-old intuition as a little girl versus my skeptical, old dude, intuition. So
yeah, I trust the 13-year-old when it shows trying to target closer to their age group.
Well, and now that you say he might be stolen, maybe they're not going to be shipped again. Marriage of convenience, like they're both going to go after him together. Maybe, like I hadn't thought of that. That's great.
Uniting.
I think they're purposely showing them as a family, and that's kind of what's showing up. And I think she's my daughter right now is like that a family's getting built right now. She just that family just called him daddy, and that's exactly what he is. And now she's the mommy.
Well, and Disney family, we love it. And I loved Omega running into the arms, like missing someone this week. So like that was the best for me.
Yeah. So I agree with I agree with Vega. I think that she's on the right path. I think we are going to see that come together. They've got some work to do to build that relationship, though, because Mike's not wrong. I haven't seen any kind of sparks of romance between them at all, like zero. So to build that where they feel like they are coming together from in a romantic kind of way, they've got a long way to go. Unless it is just one of bringing these together and devotion to Grogu, which, look, there's tons of marriages that are built on devotion to the kid.
I agree with you, but I think Vega sees the sparks there, and you think about we're getting what 32 minutes to an hour per episode, and I mean it only takes an hour and 20 minutes to do a romantic comedy, right? So
we did see it in season 1 of The Mandalorian when he first met with Cara Dune, right? There was the lady that was there that he had the relationship with. He almost let her take his helmet off for them to be a family, right? And then he's like, "No, I'm not doing that." So you're not wrong. Like, it only takes one episode, and people have been thinking he's going to go back to her since that episode. That's all it takes. So I think you're onto something.
I also say this that Bo-Katan's hair is absolutely amazing after removing her helmet. She'd worn her helmet for how long, and now she has like perfect hair. I was like, oh man,
if you combed her hair and you did the condition correctly,
that's pretty impressive.
They need to market Star Wars hair.
Well, a lot of women, when they go to the hairdressers, they pull down that helmet over top of their head to dry the hair, and their hair comes out looking really pretty. So maybe
that was the thing when it went. That was just her getting her due all fixed.
Yeah. The whole time it had been in there, it's been.
That's hilarious, dude.
Hey, Trinity, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Thank you for rejoining and letting that flip off of Apple. Apple takes part of the money, and then Google takes part of the money. And your support really doesn't go to the content creator like you would hope. So I appreciate that, Trinity. Really do. And so the Bad Batch, we need to kind of talk about what we hope and expect to see for the Bad Batch. First of all, just we haven't gotten together as a group to say how are you liking the season to this point. And a Magic Maker, I've talked more to Mike than to you about it. Where are you on the season? How are you liking this season of the Bad Batch?
I was disappointed through about the last episode, previous, not this one that just came out, but the one previous. And I mean, I complained to you a little bit about it. I was like, man, it just feels like it's not going anywhere, and I really need to see something come together. And I think they are bringing it together. I was just trying to figure out beforehand, how long it was going to take them to get there. And I think I just wanted to see more character development that we got in the previous and this episode with the other characters. And I think that they were really going light on it. And I think that they've now gone kind of heavy on it, and which is okay, because I like seeing Hunter and Tech and Wrecker also started to develop. So like the idea of the fishing and everything like that, they're bringing these pieces out, and so it's just there's little aspects of that, and them finding a home that I've enjoyed more so than when they were just like, I'm still running a tab on these snacks.
I got you. Mike, how about you?
Well, I mean, it's all hidden in Omega's plot. I mean, like, what would the next season be? Like, we just didn't get enough of Omega's story, I guess. So I just have to. I don't know. I just feel like I don't feel like Bad Batch is supposed to be about us caring about Crosshair coming back in the team anymore. A little bit of it's like we just care for clones saving clones, and they're saving their buddies, but then how do we get Wolf and those guys off, the three of them on their own, if a bunch of clones are going to be like rah saving each other? I don't know. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what to expect about it, but I hope, again, we get a big setup for the next season, and we're going to see a little bit of hope in Omega's story.
So we did see.
Yeah, that is a curious question. How do we get Wolf, Gregor, and Rex alerting the Empire about the people that arrived onto the planet, right? And and so and when they're doing this anti-Empire thing, right?
Well, I can't.
And it was Gregor that did it, and Gregor's in the middle of this right now. So
Yeah, well, so we had Order 66, and then Plan 88, and then Plan 99 is the next episode, or I mean the finale, Plan 99. So all these 66, 88, 99. But we
skipped 77.
I know what is 77?
We can go back to Sesame Street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
It's Lucky Sevens. I don't know, but and it went from order to plan. Right? There's plans, Plan 88 and Plan 99. But we know what's going on to some degree at Mount Tantus. We've got scientists who want to continue the cloning experiment. Lama Se is not, Nalase is not cooperating. And they desperately need her to cooperate. And so the whole purpose of going to get Omega is leverage for Nalase, who is her surrogate mother, right? So they think if we get Omega, we get the girl, that will give us leverage over Nalase, and we can move this project forward. The same thing's going on to some degree with no with Crosshair. So Crosshair is being interrogated. Why? Not for his DNA or anything like that, not for the cloning experiment, but rather to get leverage to find Omega. And they're not after Omega for her DNA. They're after Omega for leverage. And
leverage that has to do with cloning. See, I'm seeing a magic maker put this thing in my head now. We're going to get missing child end of the seasons. And that's a great marketing thing for toys and cynicism and everything if you want it to be. But it sounds like a good mystery cliffhanger stuff. I'm a Hardy Boys, Agatha Christie dude, so give it to me, man. I'm cool. Well, I didn't think about it.
You got to think about cartoon series to some degree.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Remember that it is a cartoon series for.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know these anime tropes. So when that sand trope thing got brought up, like I don't see these tropes. I don't have that perspective.
Yeah, I don't either from an anime perspective. But this is animation. Animation,
right? But they're going towards that. People say, Filoni and the anime vibe, and they steal a lot of these same stories. Like I don't understand when they talk about stealing story.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just talking about the audience.
Yeah.
Right. So we're shooting animation, and we put some characters in animation for comedic value for kids to retain their attention, to keep them engaged in the story.
Yes.
So a lot of times animation leans into kids' stories. Not so much, I don't want to over market that because we do see very dark themes. People being tortured is not, light content for kids. Right? Not at all. Shooting people, killing people, cutting people in half. None of that. Right? It's for kids. But at the same degree, you're not going to want to end a series where the kid is in a very bad place. That's not a way for kids to feel really good about your series. So I would maybe tamper.
I don't know. There wasn't a Spider-Man Marvel Avengers series that ended on a cliffhanger. I guess I just don't remember.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying cliffhanger. I'm saying,
but don't use the kid.
You don't want to take the kid and put the kid into a really, really bad place. Right? At the end of a season, like you can take them there, but then you got to get them out. And we've got a magic maker back. Have the demons been exorcised yet?
Who knew, Heavily? I have no idea.
No, demons are still there. your iPhone is possessed or what? Whatever.
Yeah, that's what I use, iPhone. Yeah.
You got-
Oh
you
wow.
got- yeah. So we know that the next episode is called The Summit. And in this last episode, we got a little bit of a tease for what that is. Tarkin told Dr. Hemlock, you can present that when you come to the summit. The summit, I would presume, is going to be on
Mount Titties.
no, I don't think it's going to be at Tantus because
Oh,
they're going to be. He said when you come to the summit, not when we come to you. So I would take it's going to be a Coruscant. So we're likely to be back at Coruscant for that, or some neutral space somewhere. But Coruscant would be my guess. They're going to the Emperor. The Emperor is not going to them, and they're going to be presenting what's going on there, or at least he's going to be to some degree. What do you got? So we have the summit that's going to be happening. Hemlock's going to be talking about what's going on there, the need to get Nala Se to cooperate. She's not cooperating, and the Empire, the Emperor, or Vader. Perhaps we haven't seen Vader in the Bad Batch to get involved.
oh yeah.
I don't think
They
Vader's
send
getting
one
involved.
Inquisitor.
Yeah, I don't. Or yeah, no. I think the Inquisitors are busy hunting Jedi, and we don't have that here. And I agree with a Magic Maker too. I don't think Vader's going to be involved, but we haven't seen him. He's a big part of the Empire, right?
I mean, if we see him, it's him passing up to the Emperor at the summit. If we even see the Emperor at the summit.
I don't remember any of Vader's commentary in the comics. If Vader ever even gives his opinion about the Emperor and cloning and wanting, like, does Vader even? I don't even know that plot.
Yeah, well,
Like, is Vader like talking shade on the Emperor, trying to keep himself alive because he knows it's really happening? Like in the background, like I don't even know what Vader understands.
He's an enforcer of types for the Emperor. He's muscle. He's an intimidator, and so if he wanted to have Vader there to help raise the severity of stakes, he could do that. RFK.
Yeah, I think the only way you have him involved is because he has side plots for his own cloning stuff. I mean, in the kind of a la Force Unleashed kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't expect Vader to show up. The Emperor, I do expect to be there. Tarkin, I expect to be there. And there's going to be some talk about what's going on there, what his direction is for it. And I also expect that the batch are going to want to find out, and they mentioned it in the last one, that is this message they got from Crosshair real or is it a trap? Are they going to, do they believe it exists or no?
I just realized that I don't know if are they going to be able to are they supposed to wrap up the thread about the clone replacement theory, like that whole thing? Like, remember we had that Imperial guy, but then Hemlock, he's worse, and so we're focused on him in that story. Did we ever go back to the guy that Crosshair has been reporting to and that whole theory? I don't remember.
A clone uprising to some degree is being set up. You can see it because they even mentioned in the last episode that more and more clones are starting to think for themselves, and they're giving us trouble.
We got to wrap up that thread too.
It's certainly not climbing a mountain. It's a funny joke, right? What you said is funny, but it's not true. It has nothing to do with climbing a mountain. It has nothing to do with a mountain. It's like when the United Nations has a G8 summit. Right?
No,
it could be a play on both words. It could be they go in there and fly into the top of Mount Tantus at the same time that the summit's going on. Right. So then it's a play on both words.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just a trade show for cloners, and they have their little trade show floor, and they're like, "Look what I can clone!" And oh, buy my cloning mug. And
Gail says the message was to hide. That's Plan 88. I think Plan 88 was to say, yeah, they're coming for you. You need to hide, but they're wondering what it is, and they didn't get the full message, right? But that part didn't get out to the Bad Batch. Plan 88 in and of itself has a meaning. So they know what that meaning is. They even mentioned it. They did not get the details behind the meaning, but they know what Plan 88 is. So they're going to want to find out, where's Crosshair, what's going on, why is he warning us? And then Plan 99 is the finale. Well, you do get the 2-part finale next week.
Well, that obviously is referring to Clone Force 99, and so Plan 99, I think, is the big rescue.
Yeah, I think Plan 99 would be like somebody needs rescued. That's the general, right? Like if you say execute Order 66, that right, it has a thing, or we're going to follow Plan B, right? There's a Plan B. Let's go. All right, that's your alternate plan. Plan 99 is a member of the Task Force 99 needs rescued. Execute Plan 99, or do Plan 99 is about rescuing a member, and I think Plan 99 they're going to want to go rescue Crosshair.
So the question is, does that equal in dark? Do they rescue Crosshair but lose Omega?
Well, there you go. That's a good question. But Dale says Plan
that's
88,
that's a good choice. Having to make that choice.
The Seeker, that's them searching, right? The Seeker search. They're searching for you. They know that. Plan 99 is going to be a batch member needs saved. The question. So there was a question KG asked, rescue Omega. Does Omega get captured in the Summit episode, and then Plan 99 is rescue her, or is Omega part of the rescue team that is going for Crosshair?
Right.
I think it's the latter. And then the question is, will Crosshair survive? What do you think? Crosshair live or die? Is it? Put it this way: at the end of this season, when we're waiting for next season, is Crosshair alive or dead?
I say alive. I'm an optimist.
I think I'm gonna go with alive too, actually, which means you probably should bet on he's dead.
Whatever Sheev says, I will go with. So I'm expecting the white armor and Omega to be saving Crosshair, and that he's alive. If I had to guess,
I'm gonna say two things. I think so. Kay kind of touched on it. They'll end on a cliffhanger and stretch it out to next season with Omega. I suspect Crosshair is going to be redeemed. His redemption arc. He will have turned. He wants to return to the batch, and they're going to save him. He is part of them again. And I'm going to go where a Magic Maker went with the end of Mandalorian Season 3 being very dark. I think the end of Bad Batch Season 2 is going to be very dark. They're going to get there. He's going to be redeemed, but much like Anakin laying on the floor of the Death Star, Luke trying to pull his body onto the craft to get away, and he dies. I think that we're going to get that kind of ending with Crosshair, and Omega is going to be there as he dies. And that's going to be the emotional turmoil. All this stuff's going to be going on around them. He's going to die. We're going to get a ending like Return of the Jedi. That's my guess.
That's a good possibility. I think Omega gets captured. That's how it's an end, and then Crosshair survives.
Santa's theory was, though, that at the end of the season they won't have Grogu missing and Omega missing as like mysteries because that's too much for the kids.
I think it's too dark for kids. Like to have a kid in a bad place at the end of a season.
But they know how badass Grogu is, and they know how badass Omega is. Like, I feel like the kids will know they're safe. And I don't know.
To have an adult in a bad place is different than having a child in a bad place.
I don't know. My 13-year-old's like, totally. She wants. This is what she wants.
Well,
she wants it to be dark now, so that the next season is like super triumphant.
She's also your daughter, and I've met your family, so there's that.
So what are you saying? You're saying that they're dark by nature?
I'm saying you have a wonderful family. That's all I'm saying.
People that are most balanced embrace their dark side. No.
Very good. Well, hey, it's going to be a really big week. I'm anxious to see the finale of the Bad Batch. And I'm led to believe that we are already mid-work on season 3 of the Bad Batch. That work has already started. So I think that we are going to end up with a bit of a season finale that leads us to anticipate a third season. So
yes, I think there's definitely a third season. I actually probably say you're probably right, Santa, on your prediction with Crosshair. I still think mine is better, but that's usually what it is.
Well, I messaged Meg and Jason this morning, and I'll come clean with you guys because and let me read what I sent to them. I said that I'm beginning to think that let me see if I can find it in here. I'm beginning to think the Crosshair is going to survive the season. And he's going to return. Yeah, there it is. I'm starting to think Crosshair may actually survive to rejoin the Bad Batch next season.
And they said, "Don't be so sure."
I'm beginning to think that that's the case. It may bring him back into the batch, and but I don't know. That might be too, especially if he survives. Then I agree with you, Magic Maker. If Crosshair survives and rejoins the batch, then Omega will be held captive somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be a dark ending with a cliffhanger. So, or to some degree. So they will not do both. Right. Absolutely agree. So if Crosshair dies in the redemptive arc, which is a good possibility, Omega will not be captured. If Crosshair does not die, Omega will be captured.
Yeah. I agree with you. We're in agreement, my friend. Mike, any last thoughts? We need to wrap up.
Yeah, I had a couple things. Okay, first, I'm looking forward to the future when we get to talk to iMagic Maker about the Pinky Blinders guy in the 2025 movie. That's very interesting to me. But then I also want to specifically, last bit, get into the Jar Jar theory, because I love that Ahmed Best's Jedi saved Grogu, and Ryan Airy at Screen Crush had this theory that maybe Jar Jar sent that ship. Senator Jar Jar sent that ship, and so it's a parallel that forever in canon, Jar Jar and this Jedi saved Grogu. Like, that even adds more to the redemption.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to credit Lord Vito had this thought the other day midstream, and he was saying Grogu being saved by a Jedi would be a fun thing to have the kids be saved at Batuu. And you can imagine, I mean, I don't know if they're going to bring, what's her name, the rebel girl with the different colored hair, V Marauder, whatever her name is. Like, yeah, like that was fun. That was part of the fun of Batuu a little bit. And so I thought it was cool that Vito had this like thing about, wow, I wonder if they could use Grogu, saving Grogu. Hey kids, let's save Grogu. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'd love just to ride a speeder bike as a ride. That would be freaking awesome. I would go like stand in line all day.
So a Magic Maker, as we close out the show, anything on the Bad Batch or on Mando you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, just we're shipping the power couple, and it's going to be a very sad ending. So it'll set up a great fourth season.
I'm with you. I'm with you. You guys, thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. It's fun to get together with friends. And as we started the episode kind of heavy with mental health awareness, that's a real thing. We want to provide a space where we can come and just be nerds and agree and disagree about things, talk about the content of these shows without getting sidetracked in all the drama. So I really appreciate it. You guys have been the best. You see at the bottom, just a little bit of show notes for folks. We've had this season leaderboard. This is for the one you see at the bottom is for the Mandalorian. So we've got Baymax, SWO, and RF Gaming Channel hanging in there at mid-season in the leaderboard. We got some folks nipping at my heels. This week we had nobody on the Wall of Fame. Nobody made it. Nobody beat Santa. I had 17 out of 20 correct. We had a couple of 16s, 15s, but a lot of folks were lower down, like around the 12 neighborhood. And then we do play the same game with the Bad Batch. And for episode 14 of the Bad Batch, we did have a number of people make the Wall of Fame, including Jumpin' Jamie and Brett Phillips. Mike Porter, in fact, is getting very close to the season leaderboard for the Bad Batch. He's just a couple points off. Brian Stone, Dark Dragon 7, they're hanging in there. And we've got Nerd Mafia just off the list for both the season leaderboard for the Bad Batch. We've got TVC Mac and Sheev the Wise, who's been here in chat, and Corlo Rin. So you guys, we're having a lot of fun. And at the end of the season, what we do is anybody who makes it onto the leaderboard at the end of the season, and you've beat Santa on the season as a whole, I'll send you some Star Wars Santa merch. So we've got some folks in the running. We're going to make it. KG got some Star Wars Santa merch last show, and so did Baymax. So I enjoy getting to send some of that out. All right, guys, thanks again for hanging out. If you want to hang out a little bit after the show, you're more than welcome to hang out, but we're going to go ahead and close it out from here. I've got a Mike Porter dad joke.
Yes.
Mike Porter did another fantastic dad joke for today. He says, where do the clans of Mandalorians go if they're missing a child? Very appropriate for the last episode of Mandalorian. It's an on-point dad joke, Mike. And I know a Magic Maker is a dad joke author himself, but because he's a dad. He's got a great sense of humor. But where do the clans of Mandalorians go if they're missing a child? Well, they go to the Lost and Foundling. Good job, Mike.
Love it.
Very good. All right. Kay says my hoodie rocks. Thank you, Kay. I appreciate it. You guys have a great day. And again, if you guys want to hang out a little bit after the show, just hang on. We'll be right there. All right. And for everybody else, appreciate you being here. We really appreciate your support. And until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas, and may the force be with you always. Bye-bye.